All right, behind the scenes of the Wisdom Workshop workbook, Manuscript in process. This is week 2 of Writing the Good Life on how to develop our curiosity and sense of coherence to establish a clear purpose. We're going to use a good life dashboard, a good life compass, and look at our play, health, relations, and work, and then explore the idea of a second childhood and explore the philosophy of death. So childhood, death, curiosity, and coherence that'll help us get a general better purpose. This is still a continuation of week 1, which is also on the mindset and tool sets of creating a good life. Okay, so good life toolkit, quote, "Whoever has a why can endure almost any how." Friedrich Nietzsche. One way to couch what we're working on here is a wisdom of Ikigai, and this is also the growth mindset of the Ikigai. This is a Japanese word, or Iki means to live, life, and alive, and Gai is reason. So Ikigai is a reason to live, a reason for life, and this is a sense of you gotta be This is, Gai is from Kai, which is an effect, result, fruit, worth, use, benefit, or avail. So a reason to live is generally, what goes into this is a sense of purpose, a sense of motivation, a sense of engagement, and a sense of accomplishment. These are spontaneous and undertaken willingly, dependent on an inner self. So it's things we do for their own reason, connects to the autotelic culture we discussed in episode 1. What brings value and what value we bring. Also a sense of joie de vivre, or joy, a sense of the joy of life. This connects to logotherapy, meaning making, and the motivation, different types of motivation. What's interesting about the Ikigai, and you've seen it's a 4-circle Venn diagram, is that we can make this into a mandala. This is the Ikigai life design mandala. It might be helpful to add a 5th circle to the classic image of a purposeful life and a unified life. What is at the center, and how would you symbolize it? It is our why. It is our sense of meaning. I put a little cross in there as an example of the type of meaning that might unify the 4 aspects of our Ikigai. This is to remind ourselves it doesn't matter what you do, it matters why you do it. It's particularly helpful if you're caught in making a decision about what to do. You can explore, well, why are you doing each of those? You might think of the why as being in the center of the 4 domains of the Ikigai. What will get you money, where you can offer service, where you are good, your talent and your skill, and what you love. That why can pull together your Ikigai to bridge where your service, talent, and love meet your ability to make money, and vice versa. Okay, so with that kind of framing in the background, we're ready to explore a good life compass, which is our way of navigating and surveying the land of where our good life actually is. We're going to look at comparative philosophy as a kind of purpose orientation and calibration, and then develop coherence with a dashboard around play and joy, and then look briefly at decision making and navigating, which will put us into week 3 and really connect with the entire end and purpose of the course. Let's look at actually the problem with overwork. Too often we work too hard on the wrong things. I know this to be true in my life. Finding the smartest way to work is really an important challenge and exploration we can look at. In distributed work, i.e. in the new forms of work in 21st century post-pandemic, is that we need to begin to measure our away from keyboard time and the benefits and values that away from keyboard time has, particularly in connecting with other human beings, which we'll explore in week 5 and 6. One way to do this is time boxing, where you have clear expectations with the role and the job, analysis of how and what people failed to meet or clear expectations. This is going to connect to week 5. The goal is to you do not find work you love, you find ways to love the work you have. So there's a big reframe in that it's not just finding our dream job, but finding ways to make our job more dreamy. And this connects to William B. Irvine's How to Have a First-Rate Second Childhood. Number one, this is from the philosophy of Stoicism. Number one, we want more play. And play is an activity so engaging that you lose yourself in the flow of it. You're in the moment and it is pleasurable. How do you do this? Stop taking yourself so seriously. Laugh at yourself. Participate in what you're doing, i.e., you're not looking, you're not spectating, you're doing. Find activities where you can lose yourself, and this requires a sense of experimentation. And you can experiment intelligently because, for example, the first one, yoga is a wonderful form of play. And happy baby pose is one of those easy ones that you can experiment with without hurting yourself. Another example would be a new sport. If you're older, rowing is a great example or a clear opportunity to experiment intelligently with new forms of play. You also might find a new hobby, pottery, paper making, gardening, or music. The key is that you're experimenting with different forms of play. Another way of doing this is to establish new relationships. Yes, other people are a pain in the ass, but they're also the source of some of the greatest delights we can have as human beings. Okay, what we're doing is reigniting wonder. To do this, we want to explore the why questions that get suppressed. Curiosity as a form of character where we ask questions and pull in the relevant science to our inquiries. This could include geology, astronomy, biology, ecology, and various forms of nonfiction science writers like Barry Lopez and David Quammen. You might find fabulous facts about organelles. And the idea here is that we are looking to generate curiosity to continue into our philosophical plan for old age, which is that it's never too late to have a happy childhood. And we can continue to grow and experiment in the truth of what we care about, what it means to be a human being, and what it means to live a good life. This connects to Rob Bell's advice on writing. Rob Bell is a pastor and podcast host and a writer, and he hosts a writing course. This is the highlights of his writing course online. He says, be thrilled by your work. Approach your work with wonder and glee. Love yourself and love your work. You can be open and self-loving, and you can ask the work with openness. Interview the idea that you're writing with. What is this? What do you, idea or work, want to be? Be a steward of the energy that the work wants to be. A writer is a steward of energies, which connects to Apollo, who is to be a devotee of Apollo. Apollo is the conductor of the muses. So we have different ideas that we're conducting. Flow versus edit are different stages. So childlike flow, old person like edit. Monitor how it feels in the process and own the process. This is from Anna Skoll. These notes were from Adam Skolnick via the Rich Roll podcast on Stop Chasing Happiness. Rob Bell also encourages you to keep it fresh. It reminds you, perhaps, of the idea of experimentation and trying new things. Does it make a difference if you write in longhand, if you type it, if you audio record and then transcribe? Ask yourself, how do I align my head and my heart? Ask yourself, how do I write this one? What is the energy that I feel? Don't be precious or attached to your writing or ideas. Use a bits or a scrap file of small ideas that may work in another project. Be observant and pay attention. We're focusing on Rob Bell's advice on writing here because it also applies to the general process of creating a playful life and how we can proceed here at the intersection of writing well and living well into old age. One example of this that I find particularly compelling and fascinating, given my interests in lifelong education and alternative academia, is Jim Collins of Good to Great Genius. He's a Socratic advisor, a student of life, and a self-employed professor, which is an amazing accomplishment. His definitions of a good life is a great place for us to start, because we're going to explore different definitions of the good life in this second week. And your goal is to have a clearer articulation for yourself of what a good life looks like, so you can have a clear idea of how to get there. He says a good life is three things: towards simplicity, time and flow states, and time with people I love. A simple life, a playful life, and a life filled with time with the people we love. That is just a wonderful articulation of the good life. We can also look at current positive psychological science for a definition of the good life, and this is the PERMA dashboard, and looking at how the three P's. P is for purpose, E is engagement, R is for, P is positive emotions, E is engagement, R is relationships, M is meaning, and A is accomplishments. So when we look at the purpose as a good life as purpose, projects, and people, this tracks really well with the positive psychology from Martin Seligman that we need a sense of meaning, active engagement, accomplishment, and relationships and positive feels or life satisfaction. What I want us to do this second week is actually explore a way to scan or show up to our own kind of well-being dashboard. And you're going to see each of these little dials here is labeled PERMA, reading from left to right. P is my positive feels, E is my engagement, R is my relationships, M is my meaning, and A is my accomplishment. I can see here that I can work more on my positive feelings and relationships, and that I'm actually doing pretty good with meaning and engagement, maybe a little bit more accomplishment. So this is just a way to visualize and see where we are and how we might need to fill up these gauges. It also leads to the question: if I was looking to increase my relationships and put that up, what might that be? Are there friends or people that I should reach out to see if they need any help, for example? Let's look a little bit more at work with one of my favorite quotes from the Bhagavad Gita. It says, quote, "Work done for a reward is much lower than work done in the yoga of wisdom. Set thy heart upon thy work, but never on its reward. Work not for the reward, but never cease to do the work, thy work." What's interesting about this is that it connects to the whole idea of play and doing something for its own sake. So it's a way to look at our work and our life a little bit differently, not for how we're getting and where we're going, but for the journey itself. Connecting to how to write a philosophical plan for old age, we can look at philosophy as the love of wisdom and the perspective of how to live well and our purpose and fulfillment. A good comparative philosophy has three pieces: 1, human nature; 2, ultimate reality; and 3, the methods or means of how to get there. So 1, we want to explain and explore where we are and what we need. 2, we want to explore what the ultimate reality or good life is: truth, the goal, meaning, purpose, where we're going. And 3, we want to look at the methods and means of how to get there and live well. This means that for a philosophical plan for old age, we're looking at 1, a philosophy how to live well, and 2, a plan. This is our sketch, outline, and our practical contingency to live well. We want to embrace death with iterations, experiments based on experience, what you plan on doing for your body, mind, heart, and spirit, how to stay interested and meaningful in our purpose-driven lives. This could include things like walking, talking, giving back to communities you care about, and taking care of yourself, your pets, etc. Quote, with our plan, we remember, quote, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, Mike Tyson. Or Winston Churchill said, plans are worthless, but planning is priceless. So we're playing with how we might get there while still understanding that our plan's going to change. What's interesting here is that our philosophical plan for old age might also include theories of adult development. So when we look at our philosophy of how to live well and a perspective and plan on how to get there, we can look at old age as the definition of the end of life. We are not cars that break down. We're not machines. We're more like wine or cheese that is more refined and textured and rich while we age. So we're really looking, one, for new metaphors of old age that resists the consumer culture that would have us throw old people away like we do with cars or other things is terrible. It's interesting to me in terms of is Robert Keegan's, and which connects to Claire Graves. These are two different models of adult development. And he identifies 5 different models of human development. The last 3, 4, and 5 connect to adulthood. We move from a socialized mind to a self-authoring mind to a self-transforming mind. And if we have a self-transforming mind, we hold many identities and we embrace paradox. So there is a sense that we can be multiple things at once without being limited to any one thing, which enables us to explore different aspects of this. This connects to the spiral dynamic model of Claire Graves, where we have and move from a systemic idea of flex and flow to a global holistic view where we see ourselves as part of a larger consensus and consciousness. This connects to Maslow's self-esteem and self-actualization, which we could, in another edition, refine this notion of a pyramid and put it into a notion of a network to get out of this hierarchical understanding that there's evidence that Maslow resisted as well. Okay, next time we're going to go part 2 of week 2, since this is already really long, and we're going to look at our compass, which is our work view and learning view, best way to understand what work and play is with the following questions. What's the best job you've ever had and why? What's the worst job you've ever had and why? What's the best class you've ever had and why? What's the worst class you've ever had and why? What's the best day you've ever had and why? And what's the worst day you've ever had and why? These 3 questions are asking you about what is good work and what's not good work. What's a good learning environment and what's not a good learning environment, and what's a good life and what's not a good life. Depending on our answers to this, we can get clearer on the compass and what actually matters to us. That's next time.